Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Baptiste Orthodontic Stadium. Mark Barchi, the voice of the Mustangs, here along with Neil Fisher from the Apopka Chief, and we are getting ready for week 2 of varsity football action. And Neil, not a huge test for the Mustangs last week, but to be completely honest, this week it is difficult to know what to expect. Ocoee, not a team that is ranked very highly on paper, but they stunned everyone last week, nearly upsetting one of the top teams in the state, the Apopka Blue Darters from across town. That's another crosstown rivalry. They ended up losing that game by a safety, 13-15, but really got a lot of people's attention as potentially a team that is better than they are on paper.
Absolutely, Mark. The big story last week, as you mentioned, was that 15-13 score. Now, the thing about that is Ocoee is the great enigma, if you will. For those of you who don't know what enigma means, it's a mystery. And the score was 15-13. You look at Ocoee's stats, you just look at it and think, how did they only manage to lose by only 2 points? Obviously, they did a great job. They held Apopka's vaunted rushing game to under 150 yards, so that isn't a surprise. But what is a surprise is on the offensive end, they only gained 85 yards. They run total yards. They ran under 20 plays. Now, part of the reason they ran only 20 plays was because the 2 touchdowns with 13 points they got possession on Wekiva mistakes. They were both inside the 30-yard line. So obviously, if you're scoring and you take over possession of the ball inside the 30-yard line, you're not going to get a lot of plays. Nonetheless, still only 15 to 20 plays in an entire game is truly a remarkable stat, and to still only lose by 2 points. So that's a great enigma. They threw only 3 passes. Eric Gilreath, who was listed as a quarterback, actually was in the running back position. He got the handoff, and the play was a halfback option. And he threw a 34-yard touchdown. The other one was scored by Charles Pierre. He did all the rushing last week, carried the ball 12 times for 48 yards, so a 4.0 yards per average, which is very good. That's a solid average. That's going to keep the chains moving, as they say, but certainly goes back to the original point that their leading rusher, the man who they count on to carry the ball, the bulk of the carries, only carried the ball 12 times and gained less than 50 yards. Their defense is stout, obviously, 13 points. Offensive points, the 14th and 15th point were scored on a safety, a bad punt attempt, a bad snap on a punt attempt. It went into the end zone, and the ball in Apopka was credited with a safety. So that was your decisive points. It was 4:39 left in the game. Now, part of that, too, Ocoee is a team that also, they came out and they had that 13-0 lead at halftime. They were able to get those points, not only get those points, but possession of the ball, like I said, inside the 30 for the 2 scores at the beginning of the game. So Wekiva has to also be very conscious, very aware of not allowing Ocoee to come out with that big, strong start and put them in a hole. The defense, of course, is a very stout defense, and it's very much like Wekiva's in the fact that everything Ocoee does grows out of that front defensive line. Coach Bedison talked very heavily about their ability to take off the defensive line. So there you go. That's Ocoee on offense and defense. Again, the great enigma for Central Florida in 2020, only 85 total yards, only less than 20 plays run, but they still almost upset the Apopka Blue Darters, the #1 ranked team.
And on the Mustangs side, we saw a lot to like last week. We saw some breakout performances for the Mustangs at the quarterback position. That was a player that we had not seen start for Wekiva before, and turned out to fit right into the Mustang offense.
Junior Maradovic, of course, he did catch a great break, as did Wekiva in playing East River. As you mentioned, we don't want to come in here and sound negative towards any school, any players. It's high school football. But the reality is that East River is not even close to the stiffest challenge that Wekiva is going to get. They're not even close to Ocoee. And if you want to make your first start for a new team, it would be against East River. Junior Maradovic was only 7 of 17, lower than 50% completion. However, he made each of those passes count for the most, over 15 yards. And like I said last week, I think what was most impressive and most important about his performance, he didn't make the kind of mistake, or he didn't make a bad play which put Wekiva in the proverbial hole that needs to be dug out of.
Yeah, and then we mentioned that, you know, if there were two things that we would correct from last week's game, it would be the kicking game, which we've addressed because we've now added a kicker to the roster in Amari Carter. And the second thing was those mental errors. The Mustangs did not do great in terms of useless penalties, as we like to say. Of course, if you incur a penalty just because the other team outplayed you, that's one thing. If you incur a penalty because you were just unfocused or undisciplined, that's another item.
Yeah.
And that's something that will come with time. Wekiva has a lot of returning players. And before we go any further, though, we are going to get ready to introduce the action here at Baptiste Orthodontic Stadium to the fans who are in attendance. We have, of course, each participating athlete is allowed to invite two guests to join us here at the stadium. And this week we have, for the first time, we have the ability for our JROTC to participate and present colors. We are playing recordings of the bands tonight, but we're looking forward to having them in person next week. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Wekiva High School welcomes you to Baptiste Orthodontic Stadium for varsity football competition in Week 2 of the OCPS 2020 season. Please welcome our guests from Ocoee High School. They are the Knights. And they'll be taking on your Wekiva High School Mustangs. Before we begin our game this evening, we ask that you please stand and remove your hats as we honor America with a presentation of colors by the Wekiva High School Air Force Junior Reserve Officer Training Corps. The colors are presented tonight by Cadet Colonel Jeremy Losi, Cadet First Lieutenant Emily Esposito, Cadet Second Lieutenant Maybelline Coronado, and Cadet SRA John Smith. And now, ladies and gentlemen, please remain standing for the playing of our national anthem, performed tonight live on tape by the Pride of Wekiva, your Mustang Marching Band. And for those of you who are here at Baptiste Orthodontic Stadium, we do ask that you please help us with our health and safety protocols. Please ensure that you are wearing a mask that fully covers your nose and mouth at all times while you are present here at Baptiste Orthodontic Stadium. We also ask that you please maintain a minimum of 6 feet distance between yourself and any individual who is not a member of your own household. We appreciate your cooperation. Also, for those of you here in the stadium, we'd like to remind you that tonight's game is being broadcast live on both YouTube and the NFHS network. If you have friends and family who are not able to join us in person tonight, please make sure you have them search for the Wekiva Sports Channel on YouTube or Wekiva High School or Ocoee High School on the NFHS network. As our team captains take midfield for the coin toss, we'll take this opportunity to welcome our game officials from the Central Florida Officials Association here in Orlando. They are referee Tim Krim, umpire Joe Amundsen, linesman Tondrick Robinson, line judge Tanavir Hussain, back judge Josh Himes, and clock operator Joe Garbarovich. We thank them for their dedicated service to our high school athletic programs and join them along with our participating schools, reminding everyone to make great sportsmanship a part of this and every athletic competition. The Mustangs have won the toss and have deferred to the second half. That means the Knights will have the opening offensive possession of the game. And now, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the field your Wekiva High School Mustangs. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are ready to get going here with week 2 of football action. Mustangs are going to have the kickoff here. This will be Amir Carlisle's first kick of the year for Wekiva. He joins the team this week as the Mustangs were sorely missing a player in the kicking position. I believe they had a linebacker doing it last week to mixed results, and so this will hopefully give the Mustangs the momentum they want on their opening drive.
And of course, Wekiva comes in 1-0, Ocoee 0-1. We are live from Baptiste Orthodontic Stadium here in Apopka, and we're going to have a penalty right off the kickoff.
Yeah, that went out of bounds at what looks to be the 20-yard line, and that is, of course, you can do that on a punt, but on a kickoff, that is illegal. You have to keep it in bounds, so that'll be an automatic penalty marker. Flag on the play for a kickoff out of bounds. That will automatically spot the ball at the 35-yard line, and the Knights will take over from there with 1st and 10.
I'm Neil Fisher along with Mark Barchi on the call here. So Ocoee begins 1st and 10 at their own 35, their offensive line. Starters are DeAndre Scott, a sophomore, Austin Watts, a senior, Josiah Tisdale, a senior, Kenny Carrasquillo, a sophomore, and Dominique Zaccaro, the junior. And Dylan Wade is your quarterback, and he's going to go to the air right away. And a big, big gain right up the middle.
Pass complete to Ethan Singleton. Aquila Sumter saves the touchdown. The ball is spotted inside Mustang territory at the 18-yard line. That'll be a completion of 47 yards. 1st and 10, Ocoee. Well, Neil, that certainly sends a message to open up the game.
Yeah, and we didn't get a chance to talk about it in the pregame. Ocoee likes to go with 4 receivers, and now we're going to get the handoff to Charles Pierre, and he's not going anywhere there, that defensive line collapsing the offensive line.
Charles Pierre on the carry. He is tackled for a loss by Kendall Wilson. That takes the ball back to the 24-yard line for a loss of 6 on the play. Brings up 2nd and 16 for the Knights, and we'll pause for an official timeout. Looks like we have a player down here. That is number 65 of the Mustangs. That's Carson Edwards, the nose tackle.
Yeah, so real quick, Mark, talk about this while we got the break. Ocoee, again, almost pulled off the upset. The great Enigma, the final score of their loss was 15-13 to Apopka. And the difference was a safety, which Apopka scored in with 4:39 left in the game. It was a bad snap on a punt attempt. But Apopka was only able to get, Ocoee was able to only gain 85 yards, and they ran less than 20 plays. So you don't know really what to expect.
Yeah, I mean, certainly on paper, Wekiva is favored to win this game. Wekiva is J.C. Carnahan's pick in the Sentinel preview for this week, but Ocoee is just such a wild card. It's hard to know what to expect. Carson Edwards shaken up on the play, but he makes his way off with the assistance of our athletic training team.
And Ocoee is one of those teams that not only do you know what to expect going into this game off of the performance during week 1, but you really don't know what to expect in terms of formations. They run the spread. You want to run the spread when you have speed and you have good agility to get into those angles, but you don't. And Ocoee, as we line up here again, Dylan Wade is your quarterback. He did not play last week, and that might have been part of the reason, like I said, that I brought up those enigmatic stats. We're going to get a penalty here.
Flag on the play. False start called against the Knights. That'll back them up 5 yards, and it's a replay of 2nd down. Now it'll be 2nd and 21 from the 29-yard line.
So Eric Gilreath threw a 34-yard touchdown pass on a halfback option, and your starting quarterback was actually Blake Stevens last week. Tonight it is Dylan Wade. He takes the snap. He's going to go back to the passing game.
Yeah, it was a low snap, and he almost managed to recover that one, but the pass is dropped by Tate Johnson. It falls incomplete. That will bring up 3rd and long for the Knights.
And Wekiva's starting front is Cedric Blair, senior, Pierre Warren, a senior, and another senior, Simeon McCall. Their linebackers are Kendall Wilson, Johnny Cheney, Luther Johnson, Charles Vickers, and we'll get the secondary in a minute. We're going to get the Utah pass, and Wekiva was not fooled there. Ball went to Pierre right away, and he was immediately swallowed up by that defensive line.
The shuffle to Charles Pierre is quickly stopped by Giordani Negron for another loss on the play, and it brings up 4th and long.
What was the loss, Mark? So Ocoee's going to go for the 1st down attempt here on 4th down. Wade calls him up again. One back set. Oh, excuse me. They are punting. Oh, and it's partially blocked, or at least there's enough pressure to cause their kicker, Evan Kowalski, to lose his focus. And Wekiva, after that long pass to start this drive, comes up big. The Wekiva defense shows why it's been so highly ranked and is a tradition of the program.
Kendall Wilson blocks the punt by Evan Kowalski. The Mustangs will let that one roll to a stop. It will not be returned, and it is spotted at the 18-yard line. That's just a net of 12 yards on the punt. The Mustangs will take over from there with 1st and 10.
So that first pass was over 40 yards, and I do not believe that Ocoee was able to gain any positive yardage after that punt.
So the opening play, really inspired by the Knights, very gutsy, made it work, outsmarted the Wekiva secondary, and then the Wekiva defense took that much time for them to wake up, and Ocoee has not had a successful offensive play since.
And so Wekiva's starting lineup.
The Mustangs will request their first timeout of the first half.
And so Wekiva's starting offensive, of course, we mentioned the quarterback, Junior Maradovic, the transfer from Oak Ridge. Didn't have a great performance, but it was solid. I thought the biggest positive of his performance was he did not make mistakes, did not put his team in a position which they had to dig out of. He was 7 of 17 last week, 123 yards, and to that, don't put your team in a bad position you have to dig out of. 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, 106.1 average, 15 yards per catch average. He's 6'3", 215. Lining up behind him is Chad Davis. Amari Thomas is your other running back. And on the line, Gunter Williams, the senior, Pierre Warren, Tariq Green, Miles Davis, and J.R. Harshman. As we get the snap, handoff to Davis, and he pounds that left side.
Chad Davis on the carry for the Mustangs. That gets him out to the 30-yard line for a gain of 12 on the play. It's a Mustang first down.
First down for Wekiva, and that is traditional Wekiva football under Rich Bedison. Keep the chains moving, the power rushing. Davis stays in.
And nothing particularly spectacular about that play, just effective and got the job done.
Another handoff to Davis on the right side now.
This one will not be as successful. Chad Davis on the carry. Stop made by Gunn. A gain of 1 on the play. It brings up 2nd and 9 for the Mustangs from their own 31-yard line.
And Davis, a senior, he gained 112 yards on 8 rushes last week, 2 TDs, and a eye-popping 14 yards per rush. He will not take it this time.
Oh, that was nearly picked off. That was closer to Zachary Toby than it was to Assad Wasim. The pass falls incomplete. It'll bring up 3rd and 9 for the Mustangs.
So the first 3rd down situation for Wekiva. And Maradovic has also received an offer from Long Island University. Of course, he is a senior. And we mentioned last week was his first start in a Wekiva uniform. 1 back set. Davis remains in. 2 receivers on your right. 1 in the tight end position, the other up high. 0-0. We're just getting started here. Wekiva and Ocoee, and Maradovic with the pass. It's completed.
Pass complete to Harleante Reed. Stop is made by Alston Ware. Short of first down yardage.
So is Wekiva going to go for a roll of the dice? Yes, they are. They're going to go no huddle here. 4th and about 5 yards to go. Maradovic under pressure, and he can't get away. The rush gets to him. Again, Ocoee's defensive rush there paying dividends. And
Maradovic is sacked on the play by number 8. That's Jordan Phillips. There is a flag on the play. False start called against the Mustangs. That penalty is declined, and the result of the play is over on downs. And let's see where the spot is.
So pretty much everything went wrong on that 4th down play there.
Ball is spotted at the 26-yard line. That makes it a loss of 12 on the previous play. And the Knights now take over with excellent field position. The Mustangs gamble and lose there on their first offensive possession. 8.5 to go in the first. Wade wanted to throw and then thought better of it. He decided to go up the middle instead. Wade on the QB keep, and Simeon McKell has the stop for the Mustangs.
Where was the line of scrimmage? 26. Okay. So it'll be 2nd and 5.
It'll be 2nd and 10. There's no gain on the play.
Again, 1 back set. Both these teams like to use that 1 back set. And Wade throws over the middle, completed. Not quite enough for a first down, but will set up the 3rd and short.
Pass is complete to number 30, Jeremiah Cadet. He's stopped by the Mustangs' Tony Newsom, short of first down yardage, gain of 7 on the play. 3rd and 3 coming up.
So again, 3rd down conversion, the second for Ocoee, and Wade's going to take it himself, and the defensive line of Wekiva answers Ocoee's effort. Nowhere to go and a loss.
Charles Pierre on the carry. Ball is spotted at the 22-yard line. That's a loss of 3 on the play. And it brings up 4th and 6. Or a long 5, perhaps. And now looks like Ocoee is going to go for it here on 4th down. It's hard to blame them. It's a little long for a high school field goal kicker in week 2, but not a lot of risk here. And the Knights will take their first time out of the first half.
So a quick look at the schedule here for Wekiva. After tonight, they will take on Edgewater. That's at home, and then 4 consecutive games on the road. Dr. Phillips, Jones, Southlake, State Power, Lakeland, and then, of course, they return home for the Tater Bowl. That's the intercity rivalry against Apopka. And this year, it should be a great matchup. Both teams are ranked in the top 10, and both teams look like they should be going in and still in that top 10, although Apopka did have a battle last week, as we've mentioned several times already, against Ocoee. Nonetheless, they did find a way to win. So we are now looking at 4th and 5 from the 28-yard line as Wade lines his team up in the one-back set, and he's going to go to the air. Intercepted!
No, it's not. It's dropped, but it's nearly picked off by Aquilus Sumter. Nevertheless, the result is actually better than if he had intercepted it, as the Mustangs will take over on downs at their own 22-yard line.
So both teams have had possessions, and both teams have been stymied by the great defensive of the opponents. In particular, the defensive line is getting a lot of pressure and causing havoc.
And Neil, you mentioned that the Mustangs have Edgewater next week. Edgewater, of course, the defending state runner-up. The games do not get any easier as the season goes on. Edgewater actually lost in their opening week, but they played IMG Academy, so that's kind of like losing to the Seattle Seahawks in the sense that it doesn't really count in what you think of as an 0-1 team.
And Davis takes an inside handoff, breaks a couple of tackles, and he's going to gain about 2 more yards at the end of that play. Ocoee never actually brought him down.
Chad Davis on the carry. Finally brought down to 0 miles per hour by Jordan Phillips after a gain of 7 yards, maybe 8, and that brings up 2nd down from the 29-yard line.
And, of course, Wekiva going with the no huddle.
2nd and a short 3 coming up for Wekiva here.
One back set. Davis remains in. Fake, play action, roll to his right. Maradovic, incomplete. A little too high there.
Pass intended for Assad Wasim falls incomplete. That brings up 3rd and 3 for the Mustangs from the 29.
And another stat, this is a series which is now in its 12th game. Wekiva has won 7 of the 4. Surprisingly, going all the way back to 2007, Wekiva did lose that game in their first season, but it was a 21-16 loss. You really don't expect a close game in the first season. And we'll talk a little bit more here after this play. This is somewhat of a rivalry for these 2 games, as Maradovic takes the snap, goes with the conservative of handing off to Davis. And again, that defensive line from Ocoee rises to the challenge.
We got some extracurricular activity after the play. It looks like it settled down before it drew a flag. Chad Davis on the carry. Stop made by Amir Jones. No gain on the play. And it'll bring up 4th and 3. So now, are the Mustangs going to gamble again, or are they going to take the conservative approach this time?
Yeah, I think they're going to go for a punt here. There's quite a bit of changes, so I really wouldn't expect to see them 30-yard line. And so a low snap, bouncing, good job by Carter to get that ball up, and he gets rid of it. Takes a Wekiva bounce.
Oh, nearly muffed.
Yeah, that bounce looked like it threw off number 1.
That's Tay Johnson on the return for the Knights, and will not make significant yardage on the advance. The Knights will take over in their own territory at the 28-yard line. Four minutes, 40 seconds to go here in the first quarter. Not a particularly fast-moving quarter so far.
No, and that's very common when you get defensive prowess like we've seen tonight here. Both teams have really showed up on the defensive end, and the defensive line have stood out among the defense. So Ocoee again going with 3 receivers and 1 back. Fake, handoff, and the quick pass from Wade. Completed, but again, going nowhere.
A loss of 2 on the completion. That'll bring up 2nd and 12 for the Knights from their own 26-yard line.
Wade calling out the signals now as his offensive line sets. We're just under 4 minutes in the first quarter. Wade takes the snap, and he's going to go deep over the middle, or excuse me, left sideline. And this time, the secondary of Wekiva does the
falls
job.
Incomplete. Coverage there by Willie Cutliff. And that takes us to the midpoint of the first quarter, and so we'll pause for an official timeout.
Well, Mark, we talked in the pregame show about Ocoee getting off to a strong start against Apopka last week, and I wouldn't say maybe they've gone off to a strong start, you know, that eye-catching start, but certainly Wekiva has not really been able to do anything in terms of being able to do what it does dynamically. So we are at 3:53 in the first quarter at Baptiste Orthodontic Stadium.
And speaking of Baptiste Orthodontic Stadium, we want to take a moment to thank them. They are the title sponsors of this year's athletic season. Dr. Andre Baptiste is excited to announce the coming soon of Baptiste Dentistry for Kids opening at their Apopka location. Healthy teeth and beautiful smiles go hand in hand, and now you'll be able to go to one place for all of your kids' dentistry and orthodontic needs. Baptiste Dentistry for Kids will provide services for children as young as 1 year old all the way to their late teens at their office at Kitland, Nelson Park.
So 3rd and 5. 3 receivers on the right, and we're going to get a heavy rush here on Wade. He escapes. He's going to go to the left side and does not pick up the first down.
And Charles Vickers hurried him. Dylan Wade on the QB keep and is driven down near the sideline after a gain of about 7 yards. That puts the ball in Knights territory at the 28-yard line.
Yeah.
Excuse me, the 32-yard line. And it brings up 4th down.
Yeah, remember, Ocoee had lost 3 yards on the previous play. So they had to gain that 3 yards plus the normal amount. In the meantime, we are now going to see a punt here. Kowalski. And not a very long punt, although it does take an Ocoee bounce. Wekiva gets away from it. Ocoee downs it with 2:48 left. And so Wekiva will take over possession. This is the best possession in terms of field position for either team. Wekiva begins its third possession. So we have yet to see a first down in this game here. Both teams, again, their defenses have certainly shown up, and the defensive lines have been the standouts, first among equals.
Kowalski's punt is down at the 40-yard line. Mustangs will take over from there with 1st and 10. This is the best field position Wekiva has had to start a drive yet in this early game. And, Neil, this is actually, I mean, while you and I were not there to physically witness the Ocoee game last week, at least from what we've read on paper, that this feels like it's emerging in much the same way as that game did.
Yeah, and we talked about that in the pregame shows. Davis takes the handoff, and he's going to get some pretty good yardage there on first down.
Chad Davis on the carry. That's out to the 42-yard line for a gain of 2. 2nd and 8 coming up for the Mustangs. And Neil, this is our second out of 4 home broadcasts. We have 3 of them stacked at the beginning of the season. Then the Mustangs are on the road for quite a while, and then we'll be back for the finale against Apopka. That'll be our 4th and final regular season home broadcast.
And a pass out to Wasim. He's going to get some good yardage all the way into Ocoee territory and ridden out of bounds after a long gain of 30-plus yards.
Assad Wasim on the completion, finally stopped by Lorenzo Wright, who drags him out of bounds. That puts the ball at inside Knights territory. The ball is spotted at the 37, maybe 38-yard line, and that makes it a gain of 20 yards on the completion.
First down for Wekiva. Muradovic lines him up again, and now we're seeing Thomas in the backfield. He's lining up behind Davis, and they are both offset behind Muradovic. Offset to Muradovic, and Thomas takes the handoff, and boy, that's typical Thomas rushing there. Dragged about 5 players with him for about 5 yards at the end of the play.
Amari Thomas on the carry for the Mustangs. Stopped by a peloton of Knights led by Blake Stevens. A gain of 9 yards on the play, and it brings up 2nd down and 1 from the Knights' 29-yard line. Oh, strike that. It was ruled just long enough for first down yardage.
So a 10-yard gain. Wekiva lines him up again at the 28-yard line. Muradovic will roll right. He's got an open man in Wasim, and Wasim brings the ball down. That'll be another first down.
Assad Wasim makes the completion, immediately tackled by Zachary Toby, but not before picking up another Mustang. First down. Ball is spotted here at what looks to be the 15-yard line, maybe 16. So that'll be a 12-yard completion for Wasim.
And so Wekiva, unable to get a first down on the first 2 possessions, has now strung together 2. And we're going to see an unusual formation here as Thomas takes the handoff. Same result, good yardage on first down, going behind that right side of the line.
Thomas on the carry for the Mustangs.
Thomas last week had a very impressive game to go along with Davis's. He actually gained 85 yards on 12 rushes.
Flag on the play.
Well, scratch that.
Block in the back is called against the Mustangs. That block in the back will cost the Mustangs 10 yards from the spot of the foul, and it's a repeat of first down.
So it will be 1st and long now for the Mustangs as Muradovic looks to the bench for the play. And as I mentioned, Thomas had a very good opening debut. Did not get 100 yards, but a 6.67 yards, 85 total. He's going to take the handoff again.
Got some room in the middle. Thomas on the carry for the Mustangs.
And that certainly will be a first down as we're now under a minute.
Actually, no, it's going to be just short of first down yardage. The ball is spotted at what looks to be the 7-yard line.
And Wekiva with the touchdown. Up the middle, the rushing game powers its way in. Or at least we believe it to be a touchdown.
No, they're signaling for the clock to start. It looks like he may have been stopped just short of the goal line.
Okay, so they are at the 1-yard line. Using that same lineup, handoff to Thomas, a little bit of a juke and a jive. And we got a fumble. Oh, worse inopportune time, but it is recovered by Wekiva. Wasim tries to make his way into the end zone. He did not get in. We're not getting the signal yet, at least. And that is the end of the first quarter. Wekiva did not score, so a mistake, but they do recover from it, at least in terms of not losing any yardage.
The carry by Amari Thomas is fumbled. It is recovered by the Mustangs' Asad Wasim, who does not make it quite to the end zone, but does keep possession for the Mustangs, and that is going to take us to the end of the first quarter. We remain scoreless, but the Mustangs in the red zone as we switch sides at the end of the opening 12 minutes here in week 2 of the 2020 football season. We'll be right back.
And so we will begin the second quarter in a moment. Here, Wekiva and Ocoee tied at 0-0. We are at Baptiste Orthodontic Stadium. Wekiva is threatening, though. First and goal from the 1-yard line. Handoff. And yes, into the end zone behind that center of the line. Touchdown, Wekiva, 6-0.
Mustangs into the end zone for a 1-yard touchdown run.
Making his first kick is Carter. Of course, Wekiva did not have a kicker last week. Carter, a soccer player.
Yes, this is Amir Carlisle on the kick.
Carlisle.
It is up and good.
Carlisle. So Wekiva takes a 7-0 lead. And Amir Carlisle getting his first action as a place kicker. Caps it off to make the score 7-0. Wekiva moves 60 yards in 7 plays to score that first touchdown. And so Wekiva, after its first 2 possessions, certainly came alive in that possession. The third possession, certainly looking much better in attacking the defense. Here's the kickoff from Carlisle. Up the middle, and right there where he takes the ball, the play comes to an end.
Ball is spotted at the 32-yard line of Knights territory. They will take over from there with 1st and 10.
We are at Baptiste Orthodontic Stadium. I am Neil Fisher, along with Mark Barchi, a 7-0 lead by Wekiva as we begin the second quarter. Dylan Wade takes the snap now out of shotgun. He's going to roll right, and nowhere to go on the quarterback. Well, nowhere to go, but he found somewhere to go on the quarterback draw. He's going to get a 1st down as well.
Dylan Wade will keep it for himself and progress to the 44-yard line of Knights territory. Gain of 12 on the play. Finally stopped by Antoine Johnson. 1st and 10 Knights. Knights will go up the middle on their second play of the drive. Waiting for the huddle to clear here, but that looks like it was probably Pierre that ran that. Yes, indeed. Pierre on the carry for the Knights. No gain on the play. That'll bring up 2nd and 10 for Ocoee from their own 44-yard line.
Wade will take the snap here, delays it a little bit as he looks to the sideline. And now we get the play underway. Over the middle pass, and that's going to be completed. So another 1st down here for Ocoee, taking the same pattern as Wekiva. Wekiva was unable to get a 1st down on its first 2 possessions, then strung together a series on the 3rd, of course, culminating in the touchdown in a 7-0 lead. Handoff again to Pierre, attacking that middle of the Wekiva's defensive line.
Pierre on the carry for the Knights. A gain of 4 yards on the play. It'll bring up 2nd and 6 for Ocoee.
Ball is at the 40-yard line, Wekiva's 40-yard line, actually 39. First time Ocoee has gotten into Wekiva territory tonight. Ocoee remains with the 1-back set. Wade drops back. He's going long, and way too long, incomplete. Good job there by the secondary of Wekiva.
Pass intended for Phillips falls incomplete. That'll bring up 3rd and 6 for the Knights from the Mustang 41-yard line.
Snap to Wade. And he's going to go to the left and try the screen. He's got a completion.
One guy between him and a touchdown, and the Mustangs do make the stop. Pass complete to Tate Johnson. Willie Cutliff saves the touchdown for the Mustangs. So that was a play that went well for Ocoee, but could have gone much worse for the Mustangs. Handoff around the left side. Mustangs are going to try to chase him down here. Takes 3 guys to do it, but they do get there. Handoff is made to Jeremiah Cadet. He's finally stopped by Johnny Cheney of the Mustang defense after a gain of 5 yards on the play. That brings the ball to the 25-yard line for 2nd and 5.
So Ocoee took over possession at their own 31-yard line. They're driving now down to the Wekiva red zone. And we're going to get a handoff here right up the middle. Oh, tackle from behind. Saves the touchdown. Pierre showing that speed and explosiveness.
Pierre on the carry. The stop is made for the Mustangs by Giordani Negron. That puts the ball at the 15-yard line for a first down.
And another rush from Pierre.
Pierre again up the middle, this time for no gain. 2nd and 10 coming up for the Knights from the Mustang 15-yard line. Certainly this is the most promising drive of the game so far for Ocoee.
Yes, Ocoee beginning the drive at their own 31-yard line. They've run the ball primarily, but they have had a couple of longer passes. The drive actually began with a 12-yard pass completion.
Got an open man, and the completion is made. I believe that is Johnson. Tate Johnson makes the completion. Stopped by Johnny Cheney. Ball is spotted inside the 10-yard line at about the 7. That's good for a gain of 8 yards. And it brings up 3rd and 3. And we'll pause here for a Knights timeout. The Knights take their 2nd timeout of the first half. We'll be right back. Neil, a critical 3rd down coming up here for the Knights as they return from the timeout. It'll be 3rd and short inside the red zone.
Yeah, Mark, and as you mentioned before we went to the break, this is the best drive that Ocoee has put together, and it comes on the heel of Wekiva putting the best drive together. So an answer here, of course, it still remains to be seen if points are going to be put on the board. And Wade lines him up, takes the snap out of shotgun, handoff to Pierre. And boy, he attacked the middle of the line, but the defensive line was up to the challenge. Question is, did he have enough forward momentum to get that first down?
Pierre on the carry, Nick Felix on the tackle for the Mustangs. That is going to put the ball at what looks to be the 7-yard line for a gain of 1, maybe the 6-yard line for a gain of 2. And it is going to bring up 4th and inches for the Knights. Well, Neil, do or die now.
Yeah, decision time, and the decision was without hesitation. The Knights are going for it. We have motion.
Pierre. And it looks like he may have gotten the first down, but short of the goal line. Charles Pierre on the carry. That's a pickup of 3 yards. That puts the ball at the 3-yard line. It is not enough for a touchdown, but it does give the Knights a fresh set of downs. 1st and goal.
So I'm Neil Fisher along with Mark Barchi. We are at Baptiste Orthodontic Stadium in Apopka. A 7-0 lead being held by Wekiva over the Ocoee Knights. Handoff to Pierre, and again, just straight up the middle there, trying to push the Wekiva defensive line backwards.
Pierre on the carry. No gain on the play. 2nd and goal. Looks like maybe officially no gain on the play. He might have gotten 6 inches out of that. Mustang red zone defense doing the job so far.
One back set again, and now Wade's going to go to the air in a touchdown.
Pass is caught in the end zone by Tate Johnson for a Knights touchdown.
Yeah, Johnson, nothing fancy there, just crossed the plane of the end zone, turned around, and the ball was in the air. Great execution. And now we will see Evan Kowalski attempt the PAT. And Ocoee, not sure if they did this last week, but because of course they were at Apopka, but they lined up in an odd formation, now move into the traditional formation. Here's the snap, ball down, and kicks no good. So Wekiva catches a break and will maintain the lead at 7-6.
Kowalski's kick is short and low. And so that means that the Mustangs will retain the lead 7-6 with 5 minutes, 38 seconds remaining in the first half. And that is just close enough to the middle of the second period for our official timeout. All right, welcome back to Baptiste Orthodontic Stadium. Coming back from the official timeout here, the water break of the second quarter as the Knights get ready to kick off. Mustangs caught a little bit of a break there as Kowalski's kick was low and short, and so the Mustangs will maintain the lead in spite of a successful offensive possession by the Knights on the previous drive.
And Kowalski now gets ready to take that kickoff. Waiting for the official's whistle. And the kickoff is in the air.
Returned from near the goal line.
And with 5:33 left and Wekiva holding a 7-0 lead, they will take over possession of the ball. 7-6.
That was Javon Coleman on the return for the Mustangs. He takes it out to the 29-yard line. A return of about 25 yards brings up 1st and 10 for Wekiva.
So Wekiva holding the 7-6 lead. Both teams were unable to get a first down during the first two possessions, then took the third one almost the length of the field to get on the board. Chad Davis is back in behind Muradovic. And
flag on the play.
Before we can get the play off, there are flags and whistles.
Dead ball prior to the snap. Delay of game warning is called against the Mustang offense. That'll be a 5-yard penalty from the previous spot. And a replay of first down.
We are live, Mark Barchi and Neil Fisher at Baptiste Orthodontic Stadium in Apopka next to 429. This is the second game of the 2020 season as Davis takes the handoff. He's got room. He's got 20, 25, almost 30 yards straight up the middle and into Ocoee territory. Wekiva in business.
Chad Davis on the carry for the Mustangs, gets across midfield into Knights territory. Ball is spotted at the 45-yard line. And that makes Davis's carry a gain of 31 on the play. First down, Mustangs.
And Wekiva will operate on first down from the 45-yard line. 5 minutes approaching. And Wekiva going to an unusual formation here. They used it on that last possession, and it paid dividends with the touchdown. We're going to see another handoff, this time to Thomas, who's lining up behind Muradovic. Ocoee this time up to the challenge.
Amari Thomas on the play for the Mustangs. No gain on the play, brings up second and a long 10 for the Mustangs.
So ball remains at the 45-yard line, 2nd and 10, as Mark just alluded. We are now 4.5 minutes from halftime. Play action, pass over to Wasim, and he catches it. The ball was a bit on the low side, but Wasim went down, did a nice job of putting his hands under the ball, and we will see a Wekiva. Now, it's not quite a first down. It will be 3rd and short.
Assad Wasim makes the catch at the 37-yard line for a gain of 8 on the play. It brings up 3rd and 2 for Wekiva.
Muradovic calling out the play. 2 receivers on low. Handoff to Thomas. Thomas hit behind the line, but he keeps on chugging, rumbling, keeping those legs forward, and he falls forward for the first down and got some additional yardage as well.
Amari Thomas on the carry. The stop is made for the Knights by Lorenzo Wright. A gain of 1 on the play. It brings up 3rd and 1 for the Mustangs. So another critical play here coming up for Wekiva. This could make or break the drive here with a 3rd down conversion opportunity. Mustangs have been alternating with no huddle tonight. They will certainly huddle for this one, though.
Thomas remaining in the slot behind Muradovic, and he takes the handoff, quick handoff, and the same play, this time no resistance initially from the defensive line, and he falls into first down territory.
Amari Thomas on the carry for the Mustangs. The ball is spotted at the 34-yard line. That is a gain for the Mustangs of 2 yards, and it's enough for Wekiva. First down.
And so we are seeing a traditional Wekiva rushing game here. Thomas, the big back who comes in and gets those 1 and 2 yards when you need them. Muradovic is going to be under pressure, and he is going to go down. A sack for Ocoee.
Muradovic to Calvin Smith. Ball is spotted at the 42-yard line. A loss of 8 on the play.
And we talked in the pregame and throughout this first half, Mark, about Muradovic did not do anything spectacular last week, but he did not put his team in a hole which had to be dug out of from. And even though he did lose yardage on that play, he didn't make a bad decision there. Wekiva still lives to fight another day, although it is now 2nd and long.
Yeah, the offensive line just broke down on that play, and we're going to get a stoppage here as the Knights request their 3rd and final timeout of the first half.
And you might not have seen it there, but there were, I think, 3 coaches who had the "I don't understand why you're taking a timeout" look as they came out to greet the offense. So definitely looked like that was a miscommunication there. And again, Muradovic making the right decision, calling the timeout if you're not lined up properly.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are glad to bring you the Pride of Wekiva, the Mustang Marching Band, live on tape. Last week and this week, we are pleased to report that after the return of the JROTC to our activities, our pregame festivities tonight, we will be welcoming back a pep band next week. That will not quite be the full marching experience that you are used to, but it will be most welcome to have our Mustang pep band back in the stands again.
So as Wekiva lines up here again, 2:23 left in the first half. You can see that it is a somewhat large crowd despite the COVID-19 pandemic. We're going to get a pass from Muradovic, and that's not going to really go anywhere. It was to Thomas. Or excuse me, Purdy.
Yeah, Takavian Purdy on the completion. That gets the ball closer to the line of scrimmage. Spotted at the 38-yard line. That'll be a gain of 4 on the play. So yeah, Neil, not exactly a failure of a play, but not quite what the Mustangs needed.
Yeah, and that brings up 3rd and
14.
So definitely look for a passing play here.
You might argue that the Mustangs are in 4-down territory at this point. I don't see them kicking a field goal.
Maradovic under heavy pressure tries to get out of there, and he can't. And he's going to go down. Lorenzo Wright was among the sackees.
I think Calvin Smith got a piece of that too.
So as you mentioned, Mark, I don't see the punting unit coming out here. And certainly, yeah, Wekiva's going to go for this, try to convert the 4th down into a 1st down. They would have sent the punting unit out by now. 1 minute, 8 seconds left before halftime. The clock is running. Now, if you're Wekiva, you have, in holding a 7-6 lead, there is really no reason to hurry up here. You want to use as much of that clock as you can, not give Ocoee a second opportunity. And now we get a whistle.
Wright and Smith make the tackle for no gain. It's going to bring up 4th and 14 for the Mustangs, and now Wekiva will take their second timeout of the first half with 51.3 seconds remaining in the second quarter. Mustangs call timeout facing 4th and long. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to Baptiste Orthodontic Stadium. 51 seconds left before halftime. Wekiva holding a 7-6 lead. I'm Neil Fisher along with Mark Barchi. And Wekiva, after a timeout, decides to punt the ball. Carlisle doing a very good job there. Again, not looking for a tremendous amount of distance. You just want to pin Ocoee inside the 10-yard line.
That was actually Maradovic. Maradovic remains the punter while Carlisle has come in as the place kicker. So that's an interesting dynamic for Wekiva. And you see this sometimes in high school football, just because your quarterback is your leading expert at taking snaps, that if you don't have a better alternative, you do find sometimes that quarterbacks become the punters, as this punt is stopped at the 18-yard line, and that is where the Knights will take over with 43.4 seconds remaining in the first half. And so the interesting thing about that is it does make things interesting if you do decide to fake a punt, that you've got the same guy in, regardless of whether it's a quarterback ready to take a snap for a running or passing play or ready to punt in a kicking play. You have the same personnel on the field, and it gives you some opportunities for deception, which the Mustangs do not do. And here we're going to get a knee. Dylan Wade takes a knee, and the Knights are going to be satisfied to leave it at that. 7-6 is the score at the end of the first half. The Mustangs leading by an extra point as we get ready for halftime. So as we get ready for halftime here, Neil, we've seen some things that we can really like from the Mustangs. We've seen a few other things where the pressure of the moment may have gotten to Wekiva, as certainly this has turned into a defensive contest, which is exactly what we saw again between Ocoee and Apopka last week. Obviously not comparable on the Mustang side with the game against East River, as the Mustangs pretty much ran up and down the field in week one. But this has been a much scrappier contest, maybe not as dazzling from an offensive perspective, as both of these teams really trying to find their footing here early in the first part of the season. Of course, normally by this point, almost ready to go into October, we would be almost halfway through the season. But because of the late start we got due to the COVID-19 restrictions and the fact that Orange County, well, all schools started a couple of weeks later than normal, and Orange County started yet a couple of weeks later than that. So this is only week 2 for Orange County schools, while it is week 4 overall for the state for those who started at the earliest possible moment. And so while you would normally be expecting to see teams well established and having really found their rhythm by this point in the season, instead you're finding that they are still kind of finding their footing as we get into just, like I said, the second week of games. And so I think we're seeing those early season jitters that are normally gone by the time you get to this part of the end of September.
Yeah, absolutely, Mark. I think you put it about as well as you can there. And this game pretty much has been what we expected. Of course, we mentioned how Ocoee came in off a 15-13 loss to Apopka, and they actually only gave up 13 offensive points. The last 2 were on a safety. And overall, Ocoee is a very strong defensive team. I think when you hold the number 1 team in the Central Florida area to 13 points, you really don't need to say much more. However, really, first among equals is that defensive line, and Wekiva has just followed suit. Since Rich Bedison took over, of course, this is his 5th season here at Wekiva. The defensive line has also stood out. Pretty much that's been the centerpiece of their defensive prowess. And we are seeing that once again here. Of course, I'd also like to bring up, if you remember, last year when Wekiva played Ocoee, that game was a 14-13 victory by Wekiva. It came down to a field goal. Kendall Wilson blocked that field goal on the very last play of the game. However, the reason Ocoee needed to kick a field goal in order to win that game, or at least was because they missed the PAT. So we do have a bit of history repeating itself here.
Yeah, and if we take a look at the stats for the first half here, not real impressive offensively for either team. I don't think that comes as a surprise to anybody. Ocoee has 6 first downs, Wekiva with 8. And particularly when we look at those 3rd and 4th down conversions, Ocoee 1 of 5 on 3rd down, Wekiva 0 of 4. 4th down, both teams 1 of 2. Total yardage production also pretty anemic on both sides, 113 total yards for Ocoee, 123 for Wekiva. In looking at the passing game, Dylan Wade has taken every snap so far. He is 8 of 12 for 83 yards, so he's averaging 11 yards per reception. Of course, he opened with that long 47-yarder, which, of course, then led to a 3-and-out and did not actually result in any production for the Knights. On the other side, Muradovic has taken every snap for the Mustangs so far. He is 5 of 7 for 51 yards, so averaging 10 yards per completion, slow and steady for him. He's been very consistent for the Mustangs so far in both Week 1 and Week 2. Rushing yards, 30 yards for the Knights, which 47 of them, that doesn't add up, does it? Here we go. Of which 18 of them came from Dylan Wade. So QB keeps. Quarterback is the leading rusher. That tells you something about how Ocoee's offensive production has been going. Charles Pierre, their leading rusher, has 10 so far. As for the Mustangs, they're doing pretty well on rushing. They've got 72 yards in the books. Leading rusher so far is Chad Davis for 53 yards. Amari Thomas has 39, and Junior Muradovic, poor guy, has been stuffed for negative 20. Mustangs still letting penalties get the better of them. They are losing that job. 3 penalties for 30 yards, while the Knights have had just 1 penalty for 5 yards. Still not bad, though. We've seen their discipline clean up a little bit since Week 1. Both teams have taken pretty good care of the ball. Neither team has turned the ball over for a loss, although Wekiva did have that one fumble near the end zone that made everyone gasp. And so, yeah, we pretty evenly matched all the way down the board on both the offensive and defensive statistics.
Yeah, and that power rushing game certainly came to life during the drive that Wekiva scored. And I think that really did That was important for Wekiva, not just obviously to get that 7 points and to take the lead, but also just to, as you mentioned where we started, to find their flow, to find their rhythm, to find their footing, so to speak. And I believe 75% of the plays on that touchdown drive were rushing, and Maradovic threw in a couple of first down passes as well. And so I think we're going to go into the second half here. You know, again, don't expect this to be high scoring. Don't expect this to be dynamic by any means. But I think Wekiva did what it had to do in that first half in taking the lead. It does put them in the position of being, it's always easier to play from ahead, even if it is 1 point, than from behind. And if you're Ocoee, you know, you're thinking about the fact that a mistake now cost you the opportunity to be in a tie. And you pretty much on offense matched Wekiva. Both offenses have had the same results. The first two possessions, they were unable to get a first down. And then the third possession, both offenses drove the ball almost the length of the field. So offensively, they've matched up, and then they make that one mistake that usually is subtle. Usually you don't pay attention to the kicking game, but tonight it of course now is sticking out because the PAT was missed, and that does weigh heavily if you're Ocoee, even if they're not directly talking about it. It is certainly in the back of the mind. Maybe not the actual fact you missed it, but the fact you are down by 1 point as opposed to being tied. That does change the dynamics in the feel of the game. Just like last year, now, of course, you have to score again to take the lead, whereas you should be in a tie.
Yeah, and Neil, of course, we want to let our fans know that we are very much looking forward next week to welcoming back our marching band. They will not have a full marching halftime show, but the pep band will be on hand, and so maybe you won't have to tolerate quite as much halftime droning from Neil and I as you have the first couple of weeks. So we've got about 4.5 minutes before we're ready to kick off the second half here at Baptiste Orthodontic Stadium. Again, next week, the Edgewater Eagles are on tap, and that's going to be certainly one of the greatest challenges. Probably Edgewater, I mean, it's hard to say between Edgewater, Lakeland, and Apopka. Any of those three teams are state contenders in any season, and they're probably in a three-way tie for the most difficult competition that Wekiva stands to face all year. So we will really see if the Mustangs are ready to take on elite competition next week. That'll be, again, 7 o'clock next Friday night right here at Baptiste Orthodontic Stadium. Neil and I will be here to broadcast that game as well, and we're certainly looking forward to that. We also have been broadcasting volleyball games. If you haven't had a chance to join us for one of those yet, we've had 2 home contests so far, and we have another 3 that are coming up all back-to-back in the last week of the season. You can check WekivaMustangs.com for all of those scores. We also want to invite you to subscribe to our Wekiva channel if you've not already done so. For those of you who are watching on YouTube, of course, if you're watching with ads, then a little bit of that ad revenue gets cut to us, and that helps us to fund our programs. Some of the items we've been able to purchase with that include these headsets, which allow Neil and I to sit 6 feet apart from each other, which is why you're seeing us on split screen. We're in the same room, but we're on opposite sides of it. So we've been able to get some extra equipment that has helped us with our health and safety precautions this year. So, please be generous with clicking on those YouTube ads, or if you are a YouTube Premium subscriber so you don't see ads at all, then that means that a portion of your subscription fee comes to us here at Wekiva, proportionate to the number of minutes you watch. Or if you're watching us on the NFHS network, then we thank you so much for subscribing. If you do have the annual pass or you upgrade to the annual pass, then a cut of that goes to Wekiva as well, so we appreciate that. But as we mentioned during our season preview coverage earlier in the season, we want to be absolutely clear that at no point is any of this about revenue for us. As you know, those of our family members who are able to come in person, there's no charge for those tickets this year, and we wanted to make these broadcasts available on YouTube so that you have a free option if that's what you need, because our first and foremost, our number one goal is to get this content out to as many people as possible, to make it as accessible as we can possibly make it. And so we're glad that we've been able to do that this season. If you are able to contribute to one of the paid options, we certainly appreciate that. But if not, then we would also be very grateful just for your subscription to the YouTube channel, and join us as often as you can for our home games this year. We're also really looking forward to when we get into the winter sports, we often have conflicts where we'll have soccer and basketball going on at the same time, and so we're just not able to cover everything. Well, we have some new equipment that came in this year. We're working on getting it set up right now that will allow us to, for whatever game where we don't have the full crew covering, that automated equipment will be able to come on and provide at least a basic broadcast, so that literally every game that takes place either here at Baptiste Orthodontic Stadium or inside the gym in Mustang Arena will be on at least one of our broadcasting methods. So we want to make sure that as many of our Mustangs fans this year as possible are able to join us. And we're going to take a quick break here so that Neil and I can catch our breath, and we've got just over a minute before we return to action here at Baptiste Orthodontic Stadium. Again, the Mustangs lead 7-6 at the half. Welcome back to Baptiste Orthodontic Stadium. It is a one-point ball game. 7-6 the Mustangs lead. It's been all come down to an extra point so far. We'll see if that changes in the second half. But if the first half is any indication, we've got a scrappy defensive contest coming our way for this Week 2 event. And we'll see if that trend continues as we get into the third quarter. And we are back here about 90 seconds away from kickoff of the second half. Mark Barchi, the voice of the Mustangs, here with Neil Fisher from the Apopka Chief. Again, we are longing for the day when we can bring you more marching band shows at halftime. Of course, Neil and I enjoy giving you a little bit of a halftime recap, but normally we don't have to fill the whole 10 to 15 minutes of it. And so, again, next week we will have at least a pep band back. We're looking forward to that. This week we were very delighted to have Cadet Colonel Jeremy Losi, Cadet First Lieutenant Emily Esposito, Cadet Second Lieutenant Maybelline Coronado, and Cadet SRA John Smith here representing the Wekiva Air Force JROTC Color Guard, helping us with our pregame festivities. Every little bit that we can add back to the experience makes us feel a little bit closer to normal. And so we are delighted that we were able to do that this week, and we're hoping to be able to do even more as the season progresses. Of course, basketball and soccer season right around the corner as we get our winter sports underway, and we have not gotten official word from the FHSA or Orange County Public Schools yet, but so far we have not heard anything to the contrary of those sports starting on the dates that they were originally scheduled on the FHSAA calendar. So we will hope that we don't hear anything different than that and that we get to continue with the plan that was laid out in the original calendar. Again, the Mustangs won the toss at the beginning of the game, and they deferred. So they will get the opening possession of the third quarter as we get ready to go back to live action here at Baptiste Orthodontic Stadium.
Thank you, Mark. As always, a wonderful job there at halftime. Again, Wekiva holding a 7-6 lead as the teams are lined up now, waiting for Wekiva's lined up. Ocoee's still huddled. Okay, and now Kowalski. Evan Kowalski comes out. He's the kicker for Ocoee, and we'll see the lineup now as the ball is set on the tee. So certainly, if there ever was a game that you needed to recite the phrase, buckle up, buckle your seatbelts up, boys and ladies and gentlemen, I think that would be tonight. The score certainly indicates that, but we've seen some hard-hitting physical play, especially up front in the trenches. And we are underway here in the second half at Baptiste Orthodontic Stadium. Coleman's going to take the ball, and he's going to run into some crowd here. Keeps going, though, gets through it. And just as the limited crowd starts to get their oohs and ahs going, he goes down. Nonetheless, an excellent return at midfield. Wekiva will take over possession of the ball.
Jamon Coleman on the return for the Mustangs, finally stopped by John Adrian of the Knights kicking team. The Mustangs will get pretty good field position for their opening drive of the third quarter. The ball spotted at the 48-yard line of Mustang territory, 2 yards away from midfield.
And so, as has been the case for the last 3 seasons, it's been Chad Davis and Amari Thompson in the rushing game. Davis will now line up offset to Maradovic. And Maradovic's going to go to the air. Quick pass, incomplete.
Pass intended for number 1, Assad Wasim. It falls incomplete and brings up 2nd and 10 for the Mustangs.
A little too quick there for Wasim. A 3-step drop. Wekiva comes in at 1-0. Ocoee 0-1. Obviously, if you're Ocoee, you want to get that first victory of the season. They lost a heartbreaker to Apopka last week, 15-13. The 2-point difference was a safety with 4:39 left. That safety occurred on a bad snap, on a punt attempt, went out of the end zone. Maradovic out of the shotgun. Again, play action this time. Davis, and he's going to...
Assad Wasim makes the completion, gets all the way down to the 32-yard line before being stopped by Gilreath. And the ball officially is going to be spotted more about the 33.5, so we'll call that a gain of 19 yards on the completion.
And that will bring up 1st and 10 for Wekiva. Maradovic, who is a Long Island University being sought, and he's going to complete the pass to Wasim. Fakes right, goes left.
Assad Wasim into the end zone for a Mustang touchdown.
And so Wekiva with 11-18 in the third quarter. We talked about them having some trouble, not really coming out strong in terms of gaining yardage. They were unable to gain a first down their first 2 possessions. Certainly a different story to the start of the second half. 3 plays, 52 yards, and a 13-6 lead as Carlisle will attempt the PAT. Ball down, snap, and good.
Kick is good. Amir Carlisle makes his 2nd extra point of the night, and the Mustangs extend their lead to 14-6 over the Knights with 11 minutes, 18 seconds remaining in the third quarter. So you couldn't ask for much more than that on the opening drive of the second half.
Absolutely not, Mark. Again, 3 plays, 52 yards. All 3 plays were actually pass attempts. The first was incomplete. And then Maradovic, the Long Island University recruit, found Wasim Asid, 2 catches totaling 52 yards, and a beautiful cutback there by Wasim at the 15-yard line, which eventually turned into the touchdown. And now Wekiva with a 14-6 lead, 11:18 left in the third quarter. And Carlisle places the ball on the tee, waiting for the whistle from the ref. And you mentioned Wekiva, of course, is 1-0. They had a fairly easy victory over East River last week. As we get to kickoff, they want to get that second victory, get some momentum heading into the middle of the season. And we got to dance along the sideline, about 5 yards on that return. And so Ocoee will take over 1st and 10.
Alston Ware on the return. He has run out of bounds just inside Knights territory. The ball is spotted at the 41-yard line. That's a return of 7 yards. And the Knights will take over from there with 1st and 10.
So didn't get a chance to mention it in the first half, but this really is a rivalry game for both Wekiva and Ocoee. Now, Wekiva, of course, their biggest rival is the obvious. That's Apopka, only 5 yards separating them, both schools in Apopka. But Ocoee is only 7.5 miles from Wekiva. So not much of a distance there as Wade takes the snap, play action, and he goes to the air in a quick pass and completion.
Pass is complete to Ethan Singleton. Antoine Johnson makes the stop.
So in this series, Wekiva has an 7-4 lead. This is a 12th game, looking for that 8th victory. At 2nd and 3, a handoff again to Pierre, who continues to carry the ball every time. He goes nowhere, slammed as soon as he hit that defensive line.
Well, not exactly nowhere. Pierre on the carry for a gain of 2 yards. That takes the ball up to the 50-yard line at midfield, and it brings up 3rd and 1 for the Knights.
One back set remaining in use by Ocoee. Wade out of the shotgun. Receivers, 2 receivers up high, 2 low. And we're going to have a long snap count here as we get motion. And Wade's going to take it himself on a QB draw. Great deception and great counter. It'll be a 1st down for Ocoee.
I tell you what, he had me fooled. My eyes were on him the whole time. Or we were on the motion man. QB keep taken by Dylan Wade. That puts the ball into Mustang territory at the 43-yard line for a gain of 7 on the play.
And there you saw where the design of Ocoee's, they want to spread the opponent out as much as possible. As Wade drops back out of the shotgun, he's going long, wide open, touchdown Ocoee. And if the PAT is successful, we will be tied at, well, it'll be 14-13. Just a total breakdown there. Wekiva, the ball landed in the receiver's hand. He was about 3 yards behind the secondary.
Pass completion to Tremari Smith for 43 yards.
And now Ocoee is going to go for the 2-point conversion here, trailing by 2. And just out like Wekiva with Thomas, nothing fancy, right behind the line of scrimmage, powers the way into the end zone, and we are tied at 14-14 with 9:43 left.
2-point conversion is good, and that'll tie the ball game at 14. 9 minutes, 43 seconds remaining in the third quarter.
So we'll be back from Baptiste Orthodontic Stadium. Wekiva and Ocoee tied at 14-14. This is the Wekiva Mustangs Athletic Network. And welcome back to Baptiste Orthodontic Stadium. We are tied at 14-14, 9:42. Wekiva taking the kickoff, and that's Jamin Coleman, and he gets it out to the 40-yard line. Some weaving and some juking and jiving.
Jamon Coleman on the return for the Mustangs. Ball is spotted at the 40-yard line. A return of about 20 yards. Mustangs will take over from there with 1st and 10. Make it the 41. Maybe even the 42.
So Junior Maradovic, the transfer from Oak Ridge, who again has played well in a little over a game and a half for Wekiva, has not made any major mistakes, which you sometimes see from somebody starting for the first time for a team. He's a Long Island University recruit, 6'3", 215, and he will open this drive up with Davis flanked on his left. He's going to pass, though, and that is caught.
Pass is complete to Isaiah Davis, immediately tripped up after the completion. A gain of 1 on the play. It brings up 2nd and 9.
A short pass there, looking to maybe catch Ocoee offside. No go. And so Davis, who just caught that pass, he's actually has gotten a couple of offers himself. We'll get back to that a little bit later. And so 2nd and 9 here. Maradovic again out of the shotgun, and he hands off to Davis, who goes straight up the middle. A lot of action, not much yardage. They'll bring up 3rd and long.
Chad Davis on the carry for the Mustangs. That's a gain of 1 on the play. 2nd and 8 coming up for Wekiva from their own 44-yard line.
Yeah, it's 3rd and 8 to be exact. 8:22 left. I'm Neil Fisher along with Mark Barchi. We are at Baptiste Orthodontic Stadium in Ocoee. The team that nearly upset the #1 ranked Apopka Blue Darters are certainly threatening to do the same here to the 9th ranked Wekiva Mustangs, tied at 14-14. Maradovic out of the shotgun, drops back.
Scott is man, but falling the wrong direction. Pass is complete to Isaiah Davis, immediately stopped by Malik Harp.
And so Wekiva now in a punting situation.
Ball is spotted at the 45-yard line for a gain of 1, and that'll bring up 4th and 7 for Wekiva.
So
yeah, really only one choice here, Neil.
Yeah, Wekiva took the opening possession of the second half, drove 52 yards, completed 2 passes to account for all 52 yards, but they will not have such good fortune here in the second possession, as they only gained a total of 4 yards.
Well, we said that it was going to be a... Oh, no, that's... Oh, that punt does kind of sort of get off, but, oh, that was just ugliness all around.
Yeah, and we talked about through the first game and a half here, Wekiva's not made any mistakes. And, well, I really hope that that's not the one mistake that determines the outcome of this game, and Wekiva becomes the victim of an Ocoee upset here.
Yeah, you take snapping for granted until you don't.
Yeah, never paid attention to until the big mistake is made. And really that was, we talked about it at the beginning of the game. In halftime, there are mistakes which are caused by pressure from your opponents, and there are mistakes which the team itself makes, lack of mental focus or whatever you want to call it, but it was really unforced, and unfortunately that was one of the unforced errors.
Ball is initially fumbled and then kicked briefly. Isaiah Davis falls on it and puts the ball at the 40-yard line of Mustang territory. That is where the Knights will start. And now a fumble for the Knights. They managed to recover their own, but it will push them back into Mustang territory. Dylan Wade manages to fall on that one.
Well, like you like to say, Mark,
one good mistake deserves another.
Yeah, unfortunately, Wekiva's mistake, at least right now, the gravity was more. because it was on 4th down, and so when you're on 4th down, obviously there's
Yeah,
no
loss
room.
of, I mean, this is a loss of 15, which is nothing to sneeze at, but yeah, Wekiva probably net lost 30 or 40 yards on that play.
So that'll bring up 2nd and 25, ball on the
That's the
50-yard
Mustang
line.
45.
Mustang 45, handoff, no.
Sack
play
coming
action.
up, and there it is. Number 10, Simeon McCall with a Mustang sack. So the Knights have gone backwards and then backwards again. We said it again, Neil. I mean, it was a scrappy defensive contest the whole first half, and, well, we've seen more of the same so far in these opening 6 minutes. We're going to get the official water break any second now here.
Yeah, we're under 6 minutes. We are tied 14-14.
A loss of 7 on that sack, and that brings up 3rd and 32.
Yeah, deep to go, and Ocoee's just going to take whatever they can get, handing it off to Pierre. He gets that middle of the line and gains about 5. And I believe we just heard the whistle for that water break. No, we did not, as we dropped to 5.5 minutes.
And actually, no, I think we had a new runner there. That was John Adrian. Adrian on the carry. That takes the ball out to the 42-yard line, a gain of 4. And that brings up 4th and 28. So obviously the Knights are going to punt here. It looks like the officials are going to use their discretion here to go ahead and let the change of possession happen before they call the official timeout.
Yeah, so it's going to come a little bit deeper into the third quarter than usual. Kowalski.
And it's blocked!
Blocked!
The punt is blocked by number 8, Kendall Wilson, and it's taken to the house by number 23, Tamarian Foster.
And we saw that last year, a block kick. It was, of course, the field goal. But we go back-to-back in terms of seasons for Wekiva, coming up with critical blocks, and not only critical blocks, but blocks that directly affect the score. And the limited crowd here certainly is letting it be known how much they enjoyed that, as Wekiva now goes up 20-14 with 4:56 left in the third quarter. And now Carlisle, who is in his first game kicking, kicks it up. It is no good. No good, so the score remains 6-point difference.
Carlisle's kick is wide left, and that means that the Mustangs will have a 6-point lead now, 20-14 the score, with 4 minutes, 56 seconds remaining in the third quarter. And ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the midpoint of the third quarter. And so we will pause for an official timeout. We'll take this opportunity to thank Baptiste Orthodontics, proud sponsor of Baptiste Orthodontics Stadium, where you are seated right now or where you are watching from home. Home of the Wekiva Mustangs. This year more than ever, we must all stay connected with our community and remain strong to overcome the challenges that come our way. Dr. Baptiste would like to wish all of the players, coaches, and fans from all of the teams that play at this awesome stadium to stay safe, stay healthy, and enjoy every opportunity that comes their way. For more information on Baptiste Orthodontics and all of its services, please visit BaptisteOrthodontics.com.
So on that announcement, welcome to Baptiste Orthodontics Stadium. I'm Neil Fisher along with Mark Barchi. Wekiva has just taken a 20-14 lead with 4:56 left in the third quarter. The score was actually 7-6 at halftime. Wekiva scored on its first possession, moving the ball 52 yards, 2 pass completions, accounting for that 52 yards. Assad Wasim catching both those passes and getting into the end zone. Ocoee answered with an impressive drive. And now on their second possession of the second half, they were unable to hold off the Wekiva pressure. And Wekiva not only blocks the punt, but scores the touchdown. So as we dip under 5 minutes, we'll see if Ocoee can answer. And a fairly impressive return there.
The return is made by number 3, Charles Pierre, from the 9-yard line. He gets his way out to the 23, and we've got a flag on the play. Holding is called against the returning team.
So the impressiveness of that return is for naught.
That's a 10-yard penalty from the spot of the foul. And that will back up the Knights to the 13-yard line rather than the 23.
Where are they? 13. First and 10 for Ocoee at that 13-yard line. And as we mentioned, both teams have come out after a 7-6 first half and scored 3 touchdowns here as Pierre takes the handoff. Not much doing. We'll move the ball forward a couple yards.
Pierre on the carry, and that will take the ball out to the 22-yard line for a gain of 4. I misspoke earlier. They are starting at the 18-yard line, not the 13. And so that puts them now at the 22, brings up 2nd and 6 as the clock gets ready to round 4 minutes here in the third quarter.
Out of the shotgun, Wade will take the pass. Wade did not play last week against Apopka, and he's going to go to the air, and whoa, I guess you could make an argument that that pass should have been intercepted there. It was thrown right to the secondary over the receiver.
Pass intended for number 1, Tay Johnson, is nearly picked off by Aquilus Sumter. Falls incomplete, and that'll bring up 3rd and 6 for the Knights from their own 22-yard line. Going long, got a man open, there it is. Look at that speed, though. Oh, boy, it does. That is number 23. That's Tamarian Foster that saves the touchdown there. Pass is complete to number 5, Zachary Toby.
And that will give Ocoee a first down in Wekiva territory.
Ball spotted at the 22.
So we went from 22 on one side of the field to 22 on the other side.
Yeah, 56-yard gain there on that completion. Well, that was huge. Open middle. QB keep for Dylan Wade, stopped by Tony Newsom of the Mustang defense. That puts the ball inside the 10-yard line at about the 7. A gain of 15, 1st and goal. Handoff this time to Charles Pierre. A gain of maybe 1 yard on the play, 2nd and goal. Ocoee speeding up the pace here a little bit.
As the clock drops under 3, remain in the one-back set. Wade with the pass, pumps once, goes twice.
And there's the flag. The pass is incomplete, and there's a flag on the play.
So we are...
Pass interference called against the Mustang defense. That'll be half the distance to the goal.
So Wekiva took a 20-14 lead on a miscue by Ocoee. Blocked punt in a touchdown followed that block punt. And now Ocoee looking to answer inside the 5. We're going to see a quarterback keeper here. Not into the end zone yet, but moving ever so closely as the clock drops to 2.5 in the third quarter. I'm Neil Fisher along with Mark Barchi at Baptiste Orthodontic Stadium in Apopka. Next to 4:29. Ocoee lines up again. Wade out of the shotgun. Inside handoff to Pierre, who tries to go to the right side. Nothing doing.
Pierre on the carry. No gain on the play. In fact, might have gone backwards a little bit there. And we got a whistle here because one of the Mustangs is slow to get up.
I can't see who that is, but he was leaning over with his head in the ground. Now he is at least on his knees. He was on his knees for a couple minutes. Now he is sitting. Well, more of like one knee up and one knee touching the ground. 1:54 left. This is the second game of the season. Of course, all Orange County Public Schools are playing 8 games this season instead of the usual 10 due to the COVID-19 pandemic. And they also started approximately a month later. Nonetheless, Wekiva came out against East River last week, put up a 46-8 victory, and they are looking for a second consecutive victory tonight, looking to gain some momentum as they head into next week's probably their biggest showdown. At least it would be their biggest showdown equally with Apopka at the end of the season. Edgewater, the state runner-up in Class 7A last year, which, of course, not only is Wekiva and Edgewater in the same class, they are actually in the same district, although because of the pandemic, there are no official district standings this year. So the playoffs will also be determined. Instead of the playoffs, the top 4 seeds in each class get in because they win their district. So that will not be the case this year with no district standings.
Yeah, we actually already saw several counties in South Florida opting out of state series entirely, and that is often where you get some of your top talent is from those southeastern counties in Florida. Of course, it's hard to question why they would do something like that. And we got our player up here. That is number 10, Simeon McKell, is shaken up on the play. He makes his way off with the assistance of our athletic training team. And Neil, like we said, the playoffs are just going to look so different this year. All of that math that we learned how to do last year with RPI ratings and max preps rankings and all of that complicated arithmetic, all is out the window this year, and it's just going to be a random draw. So you never know. You could have the top 2 teams in the state in the first round, or you could see them in the championship game.
In the meantime, Ocoee going back to work on third down, and we're going to have a quarterback draw. Wade dives into the end zone.
And he has the touchdown for Dylan Wade on the QB keep.
And now for all of the work that Wekiva has done to take control and really exert their force and will, they most likely are going to be behind 21-20 because of that missed PAT. 1:39 left in the third quarter. We are tied at 20-20. Where was the line of scrimmage?
All right, here comes Kowalski with an opportunity to take the lead. Each kicker has missed one tonight. Kowalski finds the mark, and that will put the Knights on top for the first time tonight. They lead 21-20 with 1:39 remaining in the third quarter.
And so, I'm Neil Fisher along with Mark Barchi. We will be back on the Wekiva Athletic Networks from Baptiste Orthodontic Stadium. Ocoee holding a 21-20 lead over Wekiva. So welcome back to Baptiste Orthodontic Stadium. I'm Neil Fisher along with Mark Barchi. Hope you're enjoying tonight's game as we have 1:39 left in the third quarter, and Ocoee just took a 21-20 lead over Wekiva.
Fair catch is called for and granted to Assad Wasim, and so the Mustangs will take over near their own 30-yard line.
So the score was actually only 7-6 at halftime. We have seen 2 touchdowns scored by both teams here in the third quarter. Certainly going from a low-scoring game to pretty much about as explosive as you can get, at least in terms of putting the points on the board. The difference is Wekiva has missed a PAT. And now Maradovic will line the Mustangs up with Davis behind him, actually on his side. Maradovic going long and overthrows Wasim.
No, that's Takevian Purdy.
Oh, Purdy.
Maradovic's pass intended for Purdy falls incomplete. That'll bring up 2nd and 10 for the Mustangs from their own 27-yard line. It was a good idea there, just overthrew the route.
Yeah, try to catch Ocoee, and it wouldn't have been the easiest catch, but Purdy did have the lead on the cornerback there.
We saw Ocoee open with a similar play at the beginning of the first quarter. Mustangs try to return the favor there, but it doesn't work out. Another opportunity here. Time. Oh, and it's picked off. The pass is picked off by the Knights, number 7, Malik Harp. And he falls to the ground. He will not advance it, but it does turn the ball over to Ocoee.
And wow, Wekiva exerted its force and will, took a 20-14 lead. And just like that, Ocoee is threatening to take a 2-score lead here. 1:28 left in the third. Certainly, we talked about this during the first half in the pregame show, Mark, where Ocoee is just a team that they might be an enigma when you look at the stats compared to the final score, but they are not an enigma when it comes to their defensive prowess.
And this was not actually a timeout. The Knights just opted to go to the sideline for their huddle. They're going to do this within the bounds of the play clock.
So once again, 1:28 left in the third quarter. Ocoee now holding a 21-20 lead over Wekiva at Baptiste Orthodontic Stadium. Wekiva's 3-4 defense is going to have to come up big here. And yes, they do come up big and take down Davis.
No, that was Smith that he actually handed it to there.
Oh, okay.
And that'll be a big tackle for loss.
Yes, either way, that was exactly what Wekiva needed, that loss on first down. As we dip under a minute in the third quarter, what was the line of scrimmage?
A loss of 9 on the play, takes the ball back to the 42-yard line and brings up 2nd and 19.
So Davis lines them up again, remains in the one-back set, 2 receivers high, drops back, going long.
Has a man, and the coverage is there. That was Tamarian Foster, breaks up the pass that was intended for Charles Pierre. No, is that really Pierre? No, that's not. Because Charles Pierre is a running back. The wide receiver there is perhaps Singleton. Yes, Singleton, the intended receiver. Yeah, the gold numbers against the white background, a little hard to read from this distance.
And so that will leave Ocoee in 3rd and 19 here. And certainly through the first 3 plays of the series, the Wekiva defense has lived up to its billing at a time when Wekiva absolutely needed a defensive stand. And Davis drops back, has plenty of time, and he's going for it all.
It's a toss-up, and no flag, no catch. The pass falls incomplete, intended for the Knights at the goal line. I believe, again, that was Singleton, the intended receiver, and that will bring up 4th and 19. Yeah, that was a dangerous play. A flag on the play, and it will be declined by the Mustangs. What was the flag? Oh. Holding was called there. Not that it matters.
And Kowalski steps out, the punter. He also does the kicking, and his PAT is currently the difference here as we have 27.8 seconds left in the first quarter. And whoa, another one that nearly got blocked. Kowalski's has had a good night tonight in terms of kicking when he has actually been allowed to kick. Unfortunately, his line has let him down a couple of times as well.
Yeah, and that has been a key difference tonight. Obviously, it directly got the Mustangs 7 of their points, or 6 of them rather. The punt is downed by the Mustangs at the 22-yard line. They'll start from there and take over with 1st and 10. Ironically, the 23-yard line was the line to gain, so that punt just barely cleared the line to gain, and the Mustangs will take over now. And this is key for the Mustangs because they definitely do not want to go into the fourth quarter down 2 scores. A 20-21 trail is manageable. And here we're going to have Amari Thomas on the carry, run to the sideline after getting close to the first down marker.
And that will do it for the third quarter. The last couple seconds tick off. So come on back for the fourth quarter. We certainly got the proverbial barn burner here at Baptiste Orthodontic Stadium. Ocoee in the lead for the first time tonight, 21-20. This is the Wekiva Mustangs Athletic Network.
That was a gain of 9 on the play, which will make it 2nd and 1 when we come back from the break. Once again, we want to thank our friends at Baptiste Orthodontics, and you heard it here first, a brand new announcement. Dr. Baptiste is excited to open a new Baptiste Dentistry for Kids, which will be at their Apopka location just across from Kitland Nelson Park. You can give them a call at 407-801-7775 for more information, and they will help you get to healthy teeth and beautiful smiles, going hand in hand with their orthodontic services that they already provide at their newest location right there at Apopka. We want to thank Dr. Baptiste and his team for being great friends of Orange County Public Schools and Wekiva High School in particular. We'll be right back.
And so we begin the fourth quarter. I'm Neil Fisher along with Mark Barchi, 21-20. Wekiva trailing to Ocoee, and Maradovic is going to roll out. Incomplete. And we also, no, we do not.
Yeah, we've got a player who's slow to get up.
Okay. Now, I actually thought there was a flag down on the field there. I can't see the number, but one of the linebackers has yellow shoes, so it looks like a penalty.
Yeah, holding is called against the Mustang offense.
Okay, so I was not seeing the player's yellow sneakers, although that can be confusing if there is no flag.
That's a 10-yard penalty from the spot of the foul on a replay of 2nd down. And that's going to put the ball, what looks to be the 15-yard line. That must mean that the penalty occurred at the 25.
So 11:52 left in the game. Ocoee was trailing 7-6 at halftime. Both teams scored 2 touchdowns in the third quarter. The difference was their kicker Kowalski converted a PAT while Carlisle Wekiva's did not. We got a handoff here to Davis trying to hit that middle of the line, and he was doing very well. Found that territory very fertile in the first half. It's been much different here in the second half.
Davis on the carry, Carrasquillo on the tackle. A gain of 2 yards on the play. That'll bring up 3rd down and 15 from the Mustangs' own 17-yard line. So that holding penalty still has the Mustangs deep in the hole here.
Yeah, not just in terms of down and distance, but they're in the shadow of their own end zone. And so Ocoee mentioned this in the first half, a 3-3 stack so they can use a lot of blitzing. And
Pass complete to Assad Wasim. Excuse me, that's to number 3, Takavian Purdy.
And yeah, that will be enough to get him back to the line of scrimmage, but still 10 yards from the first down. So there you can definitely and directly see the damage that a penalty can do.
Ball is spotted at the 27-yard line, perhaps the 28. That's a gain of 11 on the completion. It brings up 4th and 4. Yeah, just not enough there, and the Mustangs are backed up too far in their own territory to take a chance here on the 4th down conversion, because that would be devastating if Ocoee were to get that kind of field position. I mean, Wekiva's defense has been pretty solid all night, but that's just a chance you don't want to take with 10 minutes left in the ball game. And actually, we're going to pause to think it over as the Mustangs take their first timeout of the 4th quarter. And this is normally the time I'd be reminding our underage fans to make sure they've called for their rides, but no need to do that tonight as we have all adults in attendance as our family members of these students. We'll be right back.
So, welcome back to Baptiste Orthodontic Stadium. I'm Neil Fisher along with Mark Barchi. We have 10:15 left in this second game of the 2020 season. Wekiva trailing 21-20, and they are now going to attempt to punt. The difference is a Evan Kowalski point after touchdown in the 3rd quarter.
Good clean punt away there. Makes it all the way to the 40-yard line, and it's going to be fielded by number 1. That's going to be Tay Johnson on the return. We have a flag on the play.
Yeah, you can see action is getting chippy down there. A number of Mustangs and Knights having some extracurricular activity.
And we'll wait for the officials' conference here.
So looking ahead, we've talked about it a couple times, but next week is probably the biggest game of the season, at least equal to the Apopka game at the end of the season, and that is Edgewater. That will be a home game. Last season, Wekiva traveled over to Edgewater, which is only about 7 miles. And they actually took a 14-0 in 21-7 lead. However, they then got blitzkrieged by Edgewater. A couple of mistakes on Wekiva's part in the form of turnovers and penalties. But Edgewater also made a lot happen to their own credit. A number of long passes, a number of long rushes. And the final score wound up being 52-21. So Wekiva certainly will be looking for redemption. Of course, it's a new season, but you never want to, but you always have that taste in your mouth of what happened the season before.
All right, let's go to the White Hats to see what the final call is. Holding is called against the kicking team. Face mask also called against the kicking team. Holding called against the receiving team. Penalties offset. And so, much sound and fury signifying nothing.
Well, at least nothing in terms of the end result. And so, back to my point, Edgewater is the team, the opponent next week for Wekiva. That will be here at home. And there will be a sense of redemption being looked for, as well as trying to make a statement to the rest of the state. Wekiva making that statement, of course. Edgewater, it was the state runner-up in Class 7A last season. As we're going to now get back to play here. And Maradovic will punt it, and this time it's blocked. The line just fell apart, and boy, Ocoee just has turned this game around. Key plays on special teams.
The punt is blocked on its second attempt, and boy, it turns out that maybe those penalties were not so inconsequential after all.
Yeah, a short field now for Ocoee to work with. As we dip under 10 minutes.
Ball is spotted at the 11-yard line, 1st and 10 in the red zone for the Knights.
And Wade, who has gone the entire game tonight after not playing last night, lines him up, hands the ball off. And, whoa, taken down behind the line of scrimmage.
Even Singleton on the carry. The tackle for loss by Kendall Wilson.
Where was the line of scrimmage? So that's as big a play as Wekiva could come up with. Certainly it's big not only because it was a loss of yardage, but also because of the impact, and now we get an incomplete pass.
Jordan Phillips, the intended receiver, Antoine Johnson on the coverage. The pass falls incomplete, and that will bring up 3rd and 17 for the Knights.
And so Wade lines him up, one back set, 3-step drop. He's going to go to the air into the end zone. Incomplete.
The pass is caught by Charles Pierre, but he is out of bounds.
Oh.
That'll bring up 4th and 17 for the Knights. And now, Neil, you start to think about how do you feel about your kicker? Because a 4-point lead is potentially significantly better than a 1-point lead.
Yeah, and I think Ocoee agrees with you, and so do I. I think in this case you go on conservative here, given the defensive prowess of both these teams. Again, remember, the 4 touchdowns have not been scored as we get the field goal attempt here, and that is good straight through the uprights. But
Kowalski's field goal attempt is good, and that will extend the Knights' lead to 24-20 with 9 minutes, 11 seconds remaining in the ballgame.
Yeah, and what I started to say, Mark, was that 2 out of the 4 touchdowns scored in that third quarter were the direct result of a miscue on special teams, not the defense letting the offense drive. So in any case, it is 24-20 with 9:11 left. We'll be back on the Wekiva Mustangs Athletic Network. And welcome back to Baptiste Orthodontic Stadium. I'm Neil Fisher along with Mark Barchi. 9:11 left in the ball game. Ocoee just got a field goal from Evan Kowalski, upping the lead to 24-20. Important game here for both these teams, although it is only the second. Play resumes now with the kickoff.
Fair catch is requested by and granted to Mustangs number 12, Harleante Reed, near the 30-yard line. Mustangs will start there with 1st and 10.
And so we had a 7-6 ball game. Wekiva was in the lead at halftime. That has completely changed here in the third quarter as we saw 2 touchdowns by each team, and then the field goal by Ocoee. Actually, in the third quarter, it was 4 touchdowns, and then Ocoee just scored that field goal to up the lead to 24-20. So definitely a turnaround here when it comes to point scoring. However, as we mentioned right before we went to the break, Wekiva and Ocoee both scored touchdowns as a direct result of miscues on special teams. And now Wekiva takes over possession, obviously needing to score here. Maradovic takes the snap, hands it off. And that's what we were seeing in the first half there, just that power running game. And boy, about 5 yards there, just carrying the majority of the Ocoee defense.
Chad Davis on the carry for the Mustangs. He takes the ball out to the 40-yard line for a gain of 11 yards. And a Mustang first down.
Where are they? So 1st and 10 from the 29, and a long pass here by Maradovic. He's got his receiver.
It is long and incomplete. Pass intended for Takavian Purdy falls incomplete. Yeah, he was wide open if that pass had been on target. So once again, regardless of what the ultimate outcome of this game is, Ocoee demonstrates that if you weren't taking them seriously before, you ought to be.
Yes, and again, a higher score than we saw in week 1. We started the program talking about Ocoee losing by a 15-13 score, but certainly they have made the most of their opportunities. They've created a handful of big plays, impact plays, and converted about 80% of them. That's really your difference. I can tell you the last 4 points, or the 4-point difference, is a field goal. We'll get to that in a minute. As Maradovic hands off to Davis, he's got some room on the left side, and he's going to pick up almost 10 yards.
Chad Davis on the carry for a gain of 10 on the stiff arm, and a flag in the backfield.
So Davis looked like he had gained some valuable yardage there, but this is probably holding.
Yeah, normally when you see flags at that spot on the field, that's only one thing that can be, and that is holding called against the Mustang offense. That's a 10-yard penalty from the spot of the foul and a replay of 2nd down.
So going back, it's been the mistakes which have turned this game around, not necessarily directly, but certainly Wekiva has made a number of them, which has opened up the door for Ocoee. To their credit, Ocoee has taken advantage of those mistakes. Wekiva missed the PAT, and then the field goal, which upped the lead from 21-20 to 24-20, was the result of getting the ball at the 11-yard line after a blocked punt. And so Wekiva now facing 2nd and long. Maradovic working out of that one-back set again. 2 receivers low, 1 high, drops back. Tries to pass.
In trouble. Boy manages to get it off to Chad Davis and make something out of nothing here. I'm going to try to at least get back to the original line of scrimmage. The pass is completed to Chad Davis. Well, that'll get his name in the other half of the offensive score sheet. That was a play of desperation there by the Mustangs.
And to Maradovic's credit, he avoided the sack and was able to get some forward yardage there.
Yeah, technically that's actually +3, so, could have been a lot worse because that was about to be -10.
So that will make the line of scrimmage
that would be the 30-yard line, so we got 3rd and 20 coming up for the Mustangs. Again, most of that negative yardage coming on the heels of that holding call.
And Maradovic drops back. He's going deep. Says, why not? And overthrows Reed.
Pass intended for Harleante Reed falls incomplete.
And I think Reed wanted pass interference, some kind of penalty there. He got up and looked at the ref.
Yeah, I can see why he would want that, but That was a fair play on the ball.
And so now Wekiva, trailing by 4 points, 24-20 with 7:03 left, are running out of opportunities here. If you're Ocoee, you want to pound and ground and pound the ball, pound and ground.
Yeah, 7 minutes is not a lot of time in the grand scheme of things in high school football. Obviously, the Mustangs can't risk giving it back with this kind of field position to the Knights, because if they make it a 2-score game, then you might as well turn out the lights. But if the Mustangs can punt and get a 3-and-out here, then 7 minutes may be enough time for them to punch in one more touchdown. Low snap. Oh, is he going to get it off? He does. It's going to cost some yardage, but that could have been a lot worse.
Yeah, so a couple of plays which ended with, well, that could have been a lot worse. But if you're Ocoee, while the situation did not go totally in your favor, half of it in your favor might as well be totally your favor. Again, with only 6:56 left, that's why.
Wekiva needs some things to break their way, and yeah, you're exactly right. If it's breaking even, then that you might as well call that an advantage for the Knights.
Yeah, a clear advantage for the Knights. Not only is there only 6:56 left, but they have the ball at midfield, so now Wekiva has to also recapture the field position.
Yeah, even if they do force a 3-and-out here, Ocoee would be able to punt and pin them deep in their own territory.
And
QB keep and not going anywhere. Dylan Wade on the QB keeper. That'll be a loss of 2 on the play.
second down.
Neil, this may be the most pleasant weather that we've had in a while. I know it's only the second game all season, but we always are worried about thunderstorms here. We've got a nice, cool, probably 80-degree breeze blowing into the press box here. No complaints there.
And another incomplete pass. Again, to be honest, I'm not really sure why Ocoee was throwing that ball. I mean, I know it's been tough sledding up the middle, including that last play. However, you don't want to stop the clock.
Pass intended for Phillips falls incomplete. That'll bring up 3rd and 12 for the Knights from midfield. Yeah, at this point, Ocoee probably would be more concerned about burning clock than they would anything else.
And that's why I brought up the field position, because even if you don't burn a lot of that clock up, say you give it back to Wekiva with, say, 5.5 minutes left, they still have to move 80 yards. And now we're going to see Wekiva go back to the rush on the right side, Pierre doing the honors, and that is what you want to do there, keep that clock running. A decent gain on second down.
Charles Pierre on the carry. Johnny Chaney had the tackle for the Mustangs. That puts the ball at the 46-yard line for a gain of 5 yards. Back into Mustang territory. Brings up 4th and 7. So, again, Neil, we talked about the Mustangs needing to come up with a 3-and-out, and they're going to do just that. Unfortunately, the fumbled snap cost them field position, and this is probably, unless the Mustangs get a really great lane, going to pin them deep in their own territory.
And before that,
yeah, we're not even going to get that far yet. Flag on the play. 2 of them, in fact, probably for the same call.
Yeah, quite a bit of laundry on the field.
Prior to the snap, dead ball false start called against the Knights. That's a 5-yard penalty from the previous spot and a replay of 4th down. All right, well, somewhere the football gods must have heard me complaining about field position, because that'll help a little bit.
And it negates the 5-yard run on 3rd down by Pierre. And we're going to see the same result here, at least in terms of there being laundry on the field.
Prior to the snap, offsides called against the Mustang defense. 5 yards back to the Knights, and a replay of 4th down. All right, so now we're back where we started. Football gods heard me gloating about field position. Oh, a low snap. And we see an almost mirror image of what we saw for the Mustangs. Oh, that's going to take a very favorable Knights bounce, though. No return by the Mustangs. The ball is going to be down just inside the 20-yard line. That takes us under the 5-minute mark, and that'll be time for our final water break. Official timeout coming up here as we head into the last 5 minutes of Week 2 football action here at Baptiste Orthodontic Stadium. Mustangs trail 20-24. They get the ball back at their own 19-yard line when we come back.
Welcome back to Baptiste Orthodontic Stadium. I'm Neil Fisher along with Mark Barchi. And Wekiva has now faced the midnight clock, so to speak. They're trailing 24-20, 4:56 left in this ball game. Ocoee, the opponent.
And the Mustangs really need to score on this possession.
And really, it's been a series of mistakes here in this last quarter and a half, as Maradovic is going to complete it. And a good first down gain there, the pass.
Harleante Reed makes the completion. And that puts the ball at the 33-yard line for a gain of 14 on the play and a Mustang first down. So yeah, Neil, nothing particularly dazzling about that, but a good solid completion, and that moves the chains.
And so Wekiva with the new set of downs. Maradovic going back to work, one back set. He's going to drop back again.
Boy, same play we saw twice in a row. Harleante Reed again dives near the first down marker. This is going to be a gain of 9 or 10 yards. Looks like it's spotted at 9.
So that'll bring up 2nd and 1. And yeah, exactly what you need, exactly how you want to script the first 2 plays of this drive if you're Wekiva. 2 pass completions and a total of 23 yards as they are now up to the 42. Maradovic leads them up to the line. One back set. Davis remains in with 2 receivers low. Handoff to Davis on the inside. Tried to catch Ocoee offside, catch Ocoee sleeping. No go though.
Chad Davis on the carry. Let's see if he got it with forward progress. Looks like that is what they're signaling. That puts the ball at the 43-yard line for a gain of 1 on the play, and it is just enough for a Mustang first down.
So another set of downs for Wekiva as they get closer to the end, midfield.
Yep, and I mean, they're making good progress, but the pass completions in bounds as well as the running plays are keeping that clock running, so they're going to have to keep an eye on that. Of course, the Mustangs do have 2 out of 3 of their timeouts remaining. Well, they did anyway.
We are down to 3:23 now.
That's going to be Ocoee takes their first timeout of the second half. Interesting decision there, Neil, that the Knights would stop the clock for Wekiva, seemingly doing them a favor, but they must think that they have a strategic reason to do so. And so we're going to pause here for a quick break with 4 points separating these two teams, 3:23 to go in the ball game.
Welcome back to Baptiste Orthodontic Stadium. Neil Fisher along with Mark Barchi. 24-20, Wekiva trailing. They have possession of the ball. Davis takes the handoff. And boy, Power running a trap right up the middle there. Brings them close to another first down.
Chad Davis on the carry. The stop is made by number 5, Zachary Toby, and we have a flag on the play.
So if you haven't been watching, if you just tuned in,
well, I thought we had a flag on the play. I guess they picked it up. Never mind.
Mistakes have been the difference in this game, and particularly the kicking game is where the mistakes have had, as Davis takes another handoff, and he will run the same play and get the first down. Ocoee is signaling there was a fumble. At least I saw one of the coaches. The refs have not made any signal. Yes, there is a signal. And the mistakes continue, and that might just be the hammer blow, the final nail in the coffin.
And ladies and gentlemen, this is the last call for concessions. For those of you here in the stadium with us, last call for concessions. If you want if you'd like a bottled beverage, head over and get it now, and they'll be closing in just a moment.
And so we talked about this, Mark. Wekiva got a couple of pass completions, 23 yards to start the drive. They were going back to the running game. Davis was pounding, grounding. They had just received and earned another first down, and they make the mistake. And this is not a penalty mistake, which can cost you, but this was a direct mistake. You give up possession, and now they're going to have to use their timeouts with only 2:42 left and hope that Ocoee might make a mistake here. And so Wade hands it off, and whoa, oh nope, it was forward progress there. Well, great, I was fooled up here in the booth. He faked the handoff and then gave it to another running back.
So Wade on the QB keeper will get across midfield to the 44-yard line of Mustang territory. That's a gain of 8 on the play and brings up 2nd and 2. And that also, importantly, keeps the play in bounds and keeps the clock running.
Yeah, if you're Ocoee now, you're not necessarily worrying about scoring. At the top of your priority list is keep that clock running, as we are now down under 2 minutes.
Yeah, no 2-minute warning in high school. And, yeah, Ocoee's going to go ahead and milk the play clock for everything it's worth. Wekiva does have 2 timeouts available. And we're going to get a timeout taken by the Knights. The Knights will spend their second timeout of the second half. That would only make sense that the Knights would wait until the last possible moment to take that timeout, so we'll take a break with them. We'll be right back.
Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Neil Fisher along with Mark Barchi. This is Baptiste Orthodontic Stadium. Wekiva trailing 24-20 and a fumble. And so Ocoee has taken advantage of a number of Wekiva mistakes over the last quarter and a half or so, and they needed a little bit of good fortune there. Certainly went their way as that ball bounced right back into the running back's belly.
A loss of 3 on a fumble that is recovered by the Knights. The Mustangs immediately call for a timeout. That'll be their second of the second half. And so that will leave Ocoee and Wekiva each with 1 timeout remaining. And so again, Neil, the Mustangs can only stop the clock one more time. So with a 45-second play clock, really, if Ocoee is able to achieve the first down here, that makes it really almost impossible for Wekiva to gain possession again and have an opportunity to score.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this pretty much, is the play of the game here.
Now, 3rd and 5 is better than what they were looking at, which was 2nd and 2, thanks to that mishandled handoff.
And Wade is running out of the shotgun. I don't believe he took a snap under center tonight. One back set, 2 receivers each side. Handoff.
Or fakes the handoff.
And
QB keep by Dylan Wade.
And
Mustangs immediately call timeout. The ball is spotted near the first down marker. We'll see the spot.
Yeah, and it looks like he's about half a yard short if you go by the angle by the referee walking out, the linesman.
Yeah, it looks like they are going to call this 3rd and short. Or excuse me, 4th and short. It'll be 4th and short for the Knights when we come back from the timeout. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, we want to invite you to our next event, which will be Edgewater at Wekiva. Edgewater, of course, the defending state champion. That should be a great game. It'll be right here at Baptiste Orthodontic Stadium next week at 7 p.m. For those of you who are able to join us in person, we hope that you will. For those of you who are not, we hope that you will join us on YouTube or the NFHS network as we broadcast our 3rd consecutive home game of the season. The Mustangs open this 2020 season with 3 consecutive home games before they go on the road for 4 weeks in a row, and then they'll finish hosting Apopka for the Tater Bowl, and that'll be the final game here at Baptiste Orthodontic Stadium. We'll carry that one live as well.
Yeah, and so there is 1 minute 40 seconds left. I'm Neil Fisher along with Mark Barchi, and we have pretty much reached the do-or-die point for the Wekiva Mustangs, trailing 24-20.
Yeah, they have to make the stop here to get possession back, and then they're going to have to do a run and gun.
4th down and 1 to go. Wade, Ocoee quarterback, out of the shot. Well, it's a punt.
I don't know if that was actually blocked. It was? Okay.
So a block there.
And I want to say that was Luther Johnson that got a piece of it. Johnson gets a piece of that punt, and it will come down in Mustang territory at the 29-yard line. So a net of 15 on the punt. That could have been better, that could have been worse. So a 71-yard field and 91 seconds to make it happen.
And Wekiva does need to go the 71 yards. They are trailing by 4, not 3. And that is the result of a missed PAT. So the ball is at the 29. Maradovic lines the team up. 3 receivers on the left. 1 back set, as we've seen throughout the whole game.
Maradovic in trouble, and he does get tripped up. That is number 21, Kamari Randolph, with a sack. And that's bad news for a couple of reasons. The first and most obvious, the loss of yardage. And the second, the fact that it keeps that clock running.
Maradovic tries to get him lined up. 1 minute, 10 seconds. And you're Wekiva, you got to move now. You got to overcome that loss of a yardage. And we are now at 1 minute as the snap goes back. And Maradovic
in
goes
trouble
down.
again. And this time it is going to be, is that 21 again?
So a pair of sacks. And Wekiva is now in desperation mode. They're going to have to come up with something really big here. 40 seconds, 35, snap back to Maradovic under heavy pressure again. He lets it fly. And was that intercepted?
Pass intended for
No,
Takevian Purdy.
Incomplete. I guess at least the good news is the clock does stop and Wekiva can take a breath. Bad news is they're still 80-some yards away.
Yeah, 30.9 seconds left on the clock. The Mustangs with 81 yards to cover, and they're on 4th down, so they've got to make at least 20 of those yards up on this very play. 4th and 20 from the 19-yard line for the Mustangs.
Wekiva trailing 24-20. Second game of the season, and Wekiva, as Mark just said, needs 20 yards. Maradovic with the snap, drops back, 3-step drop, and this is going to be incomplete. Really.
No, it was there. We're getting a signal of a catch. And they're going
It
to
is
stop
a
the clock
catch.
for a first down. Pass is caught at the 45-yard line.
Well, I'll be, Mark.
Pass complete to number 11. That was Maradovic on the throw. Honestly, I didn't see who caught that. I'll have to go look at the replay for that.
To be honest, I thought the ball came loose. I thought I saw it on the ground.
So that gets the first down.
Second life for Wekiva. As Mark said, ball at the 45, but only 17 seconds left. Wekiva needs a touchdown. Maradovic with the snap and drop. He's going long. Has to.
Maradovic's pass is intercepted by the Knights. Number 7, Malik Harp, making the pick. Well, you don't hold that one against Maradovic too much because he had no choice but to make a dangerous play there. There is a flag on the play in the secondary.
So as we wait for the play here, this is most likely after the play.
We got the official consulting with Coach Bettison here.
And barring what I would consider a miracle, does not...
Dead ball, unsportsmanlike conduct called against the Knights. The interception stands, and so the Knights will take over.
And that will do it for the Ocoee victory. Only 9.7 seconds left. Ocoee needs to snap the ball and take a knee one more time. And their record will be evened at 1-1, while Wekiva will drop to 1-1. So
I'll put the ball at the 9-yard line after we do half the distance to the goal.
So there is the snap, the drop. The last 8 seconds will tick off here. In a game which Wekiva not necessarily had one or even had a big lead, but certainly they went from being a mistake-free team to making a number of mistakes, keeping the door open and allowing Ocoee the opportunity to maybe perhaps further make their victory and scoring a little bit easier. Your final score, Ocoee 24, Wekiva 20. And so, as I just mentioned, Wekiva drops to 1-1. Ocoee ups its record to 1-1. And of course, we started the pregame show in the game talking about Ocoee losing a heartbreaker, 15-13, being somewhat of an enigma. I think number one for Central Florida football, they're not nearly as much of an enigma. The mystery has somewhat erased. But on the other hand, Wekiva made a number of mistakes here in the last quarter and a half. As I just said, they did not necessarily have the game won. However, they certainly were in a position to win the game. And those mistakes just allowed Ocoee, the door open for Ocoee, to really exert their defensive prowess there. A couple of mistakes, in particular the penalty, the kicking game really cost them. Wekiva missed a point-after touchdown when they scored that third touchdown. That would, of course, change the dynamics of the game. You're looking at a 24-21 deficit instead of 24-20. Means you can go for the field goal. Who's to say that Wekiva would have been able to tie it up? But certainly your task would have been at least somewhat easier, looking to get a field goal instead of a touchdown. The other...
This is to the end of the ball game. 24-20, the final score, as the Knights take the victory in Week 2. Ladies and gentlemen, we thank you so much for coming out to support your Mustang and Knight athletes. We hope that we'll see you next week as the Mustangs take on Edgewater right here at Baptiste Orthodontic Stadium. Once again, thanks for coming out. Please drive carefully and arrive home safely. Have a great night.
And so the other mistake in the kicking game which directly affected the outcome was the third touchdown scored by Ocoee. Wekiva had, if memory serves me correct, Wekiva had the ball at their 11-yard line, and the kick was punt, or Maradovic, who not only is your quarterback but the punter, he was standing at the 11-yard line. Ocoee blocked the punt. They take over at the 11-yard line, and they score a play or two later, which puts them ahead.
Yeah, looking at the final stats, again, we said this from the beginning, a scrappy defensive contest. Certainly livened up, particularly for Ocoee in the second half, but still overall, this was the day of the defense. Just 11 first downs for Ocoee. They won the game actually trailing in first downs. Wekiva had 14. Total yards, Ocoee had 172, Wekiva 258, so there's another category where Wekiva statistically led in spite of losing on score. Passing, we had Dylan Wade at the helm all night, 11 of 21 for 189. Wekiva's Junior Maradovic was 14 out of 24 for 168 yards. Rushing, actually, believe it or not, Ocoee was held to negative rushing yards in total, largely because of sacks against Dylan Wade and tackles for loss against Smith and Singleton. Charles Pierre was the only one who contributed significantly to the Knights' offense on the ground with 22 yards, averaging just 1.5 yards per carry. The Mustangs also did not have particularly impressive numbers, but they were at least positive. 90 yards rushing, led by Chad Davis with 77. And the Mustangs again this week were punished by penalties, 8 for 58 yards. We said that last week. And of course, the other big key to the game, 3 turnovers. It's hard to count that last one against them because that was a play of desperation, but even 2 before that with the lost fumbles and 2 interceptions thrown. And of course, that the kicking game becoming important. You got to give it to the Knights. And Kowalski, who bested the Mustangs by 1 extra point and then put in the field goal to seal the deal. And so, yeah, just not a lot of great offensive production on either side tonight, but the Knights were able to make the scoring plays where it counted. I think they won the field possession game, to be sure, and just mistakes cost the Mustangs tonight.
Yeah, the other mistake, since you brought up the turnovers, was they were deep. They were at the 2-yard line there midway through the fourth quarter, and Davis fumbles the ball. That certainly would have given Wekiva the lead. It was actually 21-20 at that time. Now, of course, who's to say that Ocoee still wouldn't have been able to get the field goal and the game goes into overtime or maybe even win it. But again, as I talked about before you came in with the stats, Mark, the game, the dynamics in the feel of the game was changed much differently because of that missed PAT, and it was equally changed because of that fumble. You're looking at the onus would have been on Ocoee to have to score a touchdown in order to win, as opposed to it being on Wekiva.
Yep, and so now, again, both of these teams now at 1-1 records, and Wekiva has a very tall order ahead of it next week. Edgewater, one of the strongest teams in the state every year, and we will see if the Mustangs are ready to play at that level. I know that Coach Beddison and his team will be burning the midnight oil this week, getting ready for that game, and Neil and I will be there. We hope that you will be too. Thanks for joining us tonight and last week, especially for those of you who were able to join us for both games. Please make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel before you go. If you are an NFHS Network subscriber and you would like to upgrade to their annual plan, we would appreciate that as well, because that gives you an opportunity to designate Wekiva as benefiting from your subscription fee, and it is a much better deal than the month-to-month plan if you are able to do that. Again, thank you for being part of our broadcast tonight. My thanks to Neil Fisher from the Apopka Chief, who's joined me tonight as he has faithfully for the last 14 years. This is season 14 of Wekiva football. It is an unusual season, but we are making the best of things, and we thank you for being part of it. Have a good night and a great weekend.